Hello, and welcome once again to Escaping Dystopia. My name is Wall. I will be your host. Today is July 22nd, 2024. Tonight's episode is episode 123, Donald's Bad Day and Biden Steps Down. Let's go ahead and go real quick to our AI-generated news head as they read some of the stuff that's happened.
Together we rise. This selection was performed by Onyx, an artificial intelligence.
We'll try again. It's from the top.
Years of progress made. President steps down with pride. Together we rise. This selection was performed by Onyx, an artificial intelligence.
Assassin's attempt. Congress seeks clear explanation. Security breached. This selection was performed by Fable, an artificial intelligence.
Judge's gavel falls hard. Trump's case dismissed in the court. Nation's sighs unheard. This selection
Curiosity
was performed by
strikes.
Onyx, an artificial
Yellow
intelligence.
sulfur in Mars's rocks.
Sorry. Got a little ahead of myself there. So those are some of the big stories of the last couple weeks. There was an assassination attempt against one of the presidential candidates, and the other presidential candidate stepped down, literally, from office. Let's go ahead and turn those off, and we'll just try and go with it. All right. So Donald's Bad Day. We'll have this here. This is literally what happened, right? He was given a speech.
Something that said,
he's right
take a
up
look
there.
What happened.
Boom. There it is. The guy was shooting at him, missed. They got on him. You can hear that on the gunshot wounds. The 3 quick gunshot wounds are the Secret Service taking the guy out. And then you see the rest, and then he gets his shoes and then has him wait for another second. They know that the gunman is down at this point. They start to move, I think.
Hold, when you're ready, on you. Ready, move.
All right.
Move. Go. Hawkeye's here. Moving to the stand. Get ready. You ready?
Gotta get the shoes. There's so many cameras going on. Look at this. Man, they're going to be able to recreate a full 3D image of this whole thing. Pretty wild. So this happened. Since then, we haven't really heard much about this. Oh, let's go.
Let me get my shoes. I got you, sir.
Let me get my shoes, sir.
Hold that in your head. It's bloody.
So we gotta move to the
Wait.
bus.
Not sure if there's anybody else helping the kid.
Watch out.
So,
Wait.
wait. All right. So I was actually out of town on this. I was camping. We were offline for a couple days, totally, and then came back, heard he'd gotten shot. I was really interested in over the next few days to find out what's going on, right? Because we hear this and then hear he's okay, which is great. Again, this kind of political violence, this has been one of the reasons why I've been so against Donald, because he's brought so much direct political violence to our country. And I didn't ever have to go through the whole 48 hours of speculation about what was going on with this. By the time I got back, they'd already identified the shooter, his name, the fact that he was a registered Republican. And then, I guess some of the, what had been a growing call for other things kind of disappeared real quick, including the medical report. And this is the other thing here. They said he was treated there. They had a CAT scan, but there hasn't been anything else. They released this letter from Ronnie Jackson, and Ronnie Jackson, I don't know if you remember, was running the pill mill in the White House and tossing out pills to everybody. So that's the only thing that we've heard from anybody about this, other than the fact that he didn't need stitches. It looks like. Yeah, I was watching some ballistic stuff on ARs, and a lot of the damage that they actually do with the bullets is on the exit wound, right? A lot of times you'll have smaller entry wounds, and for something like an ear, it is potentially possible that the bullet just flipped right through it without doing some other damage. But we'll have to see some other ballistic reports and some other things. Apparently, there were some other cops around him who were injured by debris. from the other stuff, but I haven't seen a whole lot of detail stuff, and the Trump campaign hasn't released anything. We did a little thing here on what he was wearing during the convention. Over the last few weeks has been the Republican National Convention. Yeah. And he had that on his ear. And then right after the convention, it turned into this really little teeny tiny thing. So he's okay. And their convention is over. They spent a lot of time attacking Joe Biden during their convention. They weren't the only ones. Let me say real quick about this, and I've got in my other story that I've been writing about what was going on over the last couple weeks over on Escaping Dystopia on my thing here about open secrets, because I was curious. This started back a few days ago with when the pressure against Biden to drop out became so enormous, and Biden kept saying, no, I'm staying in, and then ultimately, of course, he is out of the race. He dropped this letter from Delaware. He hasn't been seen in a number of days now, actually, after he left the campaign trail from Nevada after contracting COVID last week. Since then, there's been a steady dribbling of various Democrats who have come out and called on him to step out. I have been documenting their top donors on this story called The Pattern Holds, the Biden Coup Explained. I'll get to that word here in a minute. Because I thought it was very strange about what was going on. I thought Biden he looked very rough in the debate, but then over the last few weeks, he's done well enough, and I think the polls are strong enough. And anyway, I think he would have had a really good chance of beating Biden in, see, even I make these kind of mistakes, and I've been doing this over and over again. Donald and Biden. And so I think in a lot of people's minds, actually, they were really, really linked, certainly in Donald's case. By the way, and this is my point here, and we'll talk about some other stuff. And we'll get to why I think Bolus has a really good chance of being VP selected. Part mainly because the Democratic caucus here in Colorado was just all came out pretty publicly against Biden, and then all immediately got behind Harris like that. So anyway, this thread is about these. This is my theory about why some of these folks wanted Biden out in particular. I go into talking about, and this is some very uncomfortable conversation for a lot of folks, because international politics and lobbying in the U.S., big money going around, big media. These are my last couple of shows have been about like Epstein and their connections to big money and big media. By the way, the Scream painting, I don't know if you're familiar with that. This popped up in my feed today, I think, and I was like, oh, that remember the most expensive painting ever? Yeah, it was bought by the guy who financed Epstein. This kind of stuff has been in our culture for a while, and it's very big money, and that's part of the reason why some of the weird media stuff has been going on. The pressure on Biden, like I said, over the last few weeks was just crazy, like just over the top. I saw a lot of things from places, stories that weren't really well sourced, stuff that was rumors, things that turned out to not be true. And ultimately, I do think the donors, and I talk about in here who some of the donors are, we get to this, man, because some of these started coming out, and there was a few other folks who came out and flat out was like, no, I'm not giving you, and there's Biden's letter there at the end of the story. So I do think there was a lot of internal pressure. Now, the word coup obviously has violent connotations, much like assassination attempt. Like I said, the last couple of weeks in American politics have been pretty wild. I think I don't know what the term is for a political party having internal pressure because of donors. And again, some supporters, I know a lot of people weren't very excited about Biden being president again or working or voting for him. I know there were a lot of people who like him quite a bit, and it was nice to have a good, decent man in American politics. I think Harris is going to do great. One thing that I will say about this, and my hope has gone pretty well, I've been pretty negative on the idea of Biden stepping down. Mainly because I don't think it's, I don't know. There's a number of reasons. I'm not really going to go into that, but because it doesn't matter now. And talking about things that you were trying to argue for, and I've made a few arguments here and there. But I thought he was going to be strong enough to be able to beat Donald, who I think is wildly weak. I think the change really, really is going to expose Donald's weaknesses even more. The big fear for me was going to be chaos. And that was what I kept asking people over the last few weeks. I was like, okay, well, who's going to be Harris's VP pick? And there were all these people, some people pushing for an open convention, which, there is one of them here, and we'll see. Actually, this is what actually just happened. I, mentioned this just a little while ago. Harris now has enough pledged delegates so she'll be the presumptive nominee basically from here moving forward, which is great because that's all within the same kind of news cycle where you have this change. People can call it whatever they want, a coronation, an ascension. She was the VP. She was already on the ticket when this was voted for in the primary. That's who those votes were also for. So in my mind, at least, she's really the only alternative that doesn't completely blow things to hell. This is what is going to be interesting this next week because Netanyahu is going to come. And this actually article that I was shared over on here, and I'll have links to all these. And of course, all this is live on Haiku the News right now. This last week, the International Court of Justice said, like, hey, by the way, you can't keep taking people's land and building on it. And then there was also, the Stegosaurus thing is really, really cool. You should check that out. And then the other thing, too, was, they're slowed down on some of this stuff. This is a great article, actually, in the AP that gives a lot of good history on some of the difficulties going on for this next week and some of the intricacies of international politics. I don't think that, as the article goes into here quite a bit, this actually speaks a little bit more about Biden and Netanyahu's disagreements, some of the stuff that I've touched on in the other article, and this, some of this other stuff that, this isn't the first time that he's come and spoken to Congress, right? And last time actually didn't really help much and drove a lot of folks away from the, this pack, right? From APAC, who had a really bad reputation over this last year. And I say bad reputation for some people. They have a pretty clear reputation now as being, no, we need to have Israel and America aligned perfectly. And there's a lot of people who are like, well, okay, but what can you do for us, per se? And it's a difficult conversation to have for various and obvious reasons, right? I was going to look up one of the things that Musk said about the Rothschild and all that, and BS about Jews controlling everything. Look, folks, I've been watching and following this stuff a long time. Israel is a player in international politics. It's a big player in American politics. There are so many people who would absolutely love you to think that they control everything, but it's just a lot of people who want different things. I think in Biden's case, a lot of forces aligned against him, and in a case where he didn't have the strength at the end to fight them all off. Not that it would have been quite a bit, and I was impressed that he lasted as long as he did, quite frankly. But it is what it is. So I think it's better to be a little bit more clear-eyed about this kind of stuff and be able to discuss it without any kind of animosity or underlying conspiracy or hatred, but to be open and clear. I'm saying, yes, some of these people who were clearly funded by this same group were the leaders of what I call kind of an internal, I've said the word party coup. I don't know what that is called when you have it in a democracy. I really don't. And I don't know if people are going to spend a whole lot of time exploring that. But anyway, this is coming up this next week. But some of the stuff that happened, and this is what and I've talked about this a little bit more on my threads on over here and some other places. Wrote down a bunch of stuff before Biden eventually came out, but the media pressure on Biden to do this last week was out of control. I'm just for an example. So after going after Biden so hard on the debate, which granted, fine, whatever, but during the RNC on multiple nights, Donald fell asleep. I mean, just fell asleep in the stands. Now, I can totally forgive that, right? He's on painkillers, right? He's got this big thing on his ear, and it's boring as hell, and it, he hates it, and it's past 8:00. He's falling asleep, but there were multiple news stories the next day about how, well, Biden needs to drop out, and where's this, and just over and over and over and over, and it was the only thing that so much media was covering. And again, unless you're somebody who really, really follows this stuff, it would be hard to notice that it was like that. And it was pretty surreal, and that's why I wanted to talk about it and get it on tape. And I've had to do this a few times to try. But yeah, this last few weeks, the way that our media has responded to some of this, the Donald sleeping, I mean, like Aaron Sorkin, George Clinton, like these just like celebrity op-eds, the New York Times. I have like 7 screenshots of where every top story in the New York Times and the Washington Post and the Atlantic is all about getting Biden out from various angles. And it's just like for weeks. And then at the end, Biden gets the COVID. It was, it was tough. This has been a pretty rough few weeks for people who watch this kind of stuff. I'm very happy to see the Democratic Party, coalesce around Kamala Harris. I think she's going to be okay. I want to see. I can't say that I think she'll be the strongest candidate because I don't know that yet, right? I don't know how well she's going to do. I haven't been watching her over the last few years. Our media doesn't cover her. I will say again about Biden, the New York Times pitch bot kind of, why is this bad for Biden? Why is this bad news? That stuff had been going on for a long time. And so it just reached a fever pitch where it was so much beyond the cliche that I just have to take note of it, that was pretty interesting. This new world that we're in now is pretty wild, right? The dynamics, and this, by the way, has blown out my thesis here. And just so you know, I'm going to be updating this thing here. Donald's going to win. He got convicted. That's the other thing, too, and I played you the story. The judge in Florida threw out his documents case where he literally stole national secrets and then showed them off to his friends and sold them to who knows what. A lot of people who dedicated their lives to this country lost them because of that in ways that we're not going to hear about for a long time. And then there'll be this story that comes out, but because he sold the knock list, I think, and some other things. But anyway, so this is the part here that's going to be rough, right? I think what the House is going to try and do, and what they'll try and do, is claim they're having a hard time adjusting to Biden not being the nominee, by the way. And so, excuse me, there's a decent chance that they might claim that, well, that's who I was running against and I beat him. Who knows? This is going to get wild, I think, a little bit over the next little bit. That the Dems have been able to settle on a nominee is great. And that will hopefully calm a little bit of things. We'll see. Let's see, going on. Oh, shoot. I'm not sharing this with you. Anyway, this was my thing I wrote at the beginning of the year, kind of saying what's going to play out this year. Yeah, Donald will win easy. No, 91 felonies. Again, a bunch of those got thrown out. Cannon did it. I think he's going to refuse to accept he lost. He's going to refuse to accept that he's even running against anything other than Biden maybe now. I don't know. He's really got some mental problems. Give me a couple more minutes. I'm almost done, buddy. All right. Love you, dude. All right. Sorry, I got a bunch of kiddos. So anyway, we're going to go through this. This was the thing, right? The 81-year-old man. I don't think that Biden's health ultimately held up, and that was the big wrench. Now Donald is still that old and really campaigning as an open fascist. He picked J.D. Vance as his VP. Vance is backed by a bunch of fascists. The Thiel, David Sachs, that crew. Elon now, I know, whatever. I bought this to promote my website and go through the website through the end of the election season. I'll be canceling it right around my birthday, which is right before the election, by the way. So let's see. Anyway, so I'm going to change this because this is all blown out. Yeah, if only Dems, they did. They've got one now. And that's what's changed. And I think it's really, really, really changed the dynamics of the race. Like I said, I thought Biden could grind it out, but he could not. So I wish him the best. I think he's a really good person and a good man. And I don't think he got his shot until, near the end. And I think he did more work, as he and many others have said. He's one of the most successful presidents that I've ever seen in my life. He was not the orator that Obama was, but he was the legislator that Obama wished he could have been. And he got so much stuff done. And if the Dems can hold on and be the ones who actually reap these rewards now for the next few years, that would be great. And we could really see fascism recede from rearing its ugly goddamn head once again here in this country. I'm going to have to think about what my next thesis is after we get a VP nominee, and then I'll update my pinned post on that. Again, I don't think anybody who doesn't change what they think based on new information is a very good thinker. So I try and do it. So if I'm a little ephemeral sometimes in my analyses, that's why, because I don't have the right information to be sure about things. So Biden, we wish you well. Donald, hope your ear is feeling better, and we get to see it at some point. That would be a cool scar if there is a scar. Yeah, and that's it. Episode 123. The Biden coup and coup. A coup. It's a coup. I don't know. That's the word. I looked it up the other day, just so you know. And let me do this real quick. The only thing that's different, because there's a couple different qualifiers, right, for something to actually be a coup. So, actually, I guess if it's and, then it's not a coup, right? Because if it's a sudden seizure of government power, this I think is all lawful. It wasn't violent, because the violence was on the assassination attempt, right? So I don't think you can, and definitely not a coup d'état. Coup d'état, such a cool phrase for such a horrible thing. Now in that sense, yeah, but usually when you're talking political coup, so I don't think that's the right word. The party pressure, internal party pressure to get Biden stepped down was immense. I think it's going to be ultimately probably pretty good. It seems to have switched around a lot of the vibe. Can we go back to calling it a zeitgeist? It's such a cool, so many more letters, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, thank you for watching if you made it all the way to the end. And you get to see me eat my coup crow. Oh, good times. American politics, man. It's a show. All right. Peace out, y'all. Take care.